Hi, what's up, everybody? So I'm back at the other shop, my parents' house. Yeah, so it's hot, and I really don't want to be out in the sun at my house. So I come around where, hey, it's a chicken in the background, a rooster. Okay, I hear you, buddy. But anyway, so I wanted some shade, try to keep the heat down because it's already about 80, 90, 95 degrees. So I'm just trying to keep cool. So I got my Gladiator out here, and you know, I'm gonna replace the unit bearings. Now, this is not gonna be a detailed how to do or install video, mainly because there's so many videos out there on how to install these unit bearings. But once again, there are some of y'all that have never done this before, and you might want to get into doing some of your own work. And if you do, you could save yourself some money. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help y'all out. Now, if you know me, I like to do all my upgrading and maintenance on this thing, and it's got 181,000 miles, and because of that, they need to be changed anyway. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change them out. Now, I'm gonna show you what tools you need, go through it, take them off, tell you everything you need to take off so you don't mess nothing up, and hey, we're gonna keep it rolling, we're gonna keep it pushing. Now, I got the factory matched parts because I figured, once again, these lasted me 181,000 miles. Might as well go back with the same thing. There's other companies I like, Timken and all of that, but I'm going back with the factory stuff. You can find them on, well, you can go to the dealership and get them, but y'all know how to Google, right? Do you? Yeah, Google. Okay, yeah. Just Google and find your set. Part numbers. I actually list the part numbers in the video, along with all the tools that you're gonna need. So let me go ahead and let's get into it, because even under this roof, it's still gonna get hot. So let's go ahead and get into it. Oh yeah, I'll show you some tips and tricks too. And by all means, if any of the experts are watching this video and you got some tips and tricks that might be able to help somebody out that's just getting into this, please throw them in the comments, because like I always say, we learn together, right? That's what we're doing. So let's get into this. Now the next thing you want to do after you get your wheel off is you want to take the brake caliper off. 2 bolts right there, 13mm wrench. Get your zip ties ready, your string or whatever you got, so you can hang this stuff up somewhere. To get the other component of the brake pads, I'm using a 21mm socket. Man, somebody's dogs are going crazy. Anyway, to get the rotor off, I'm using a T30 Torx bolt. Not bolt, socket, hex head. Y'all know what I mean. To get the brake shield off, I'm using a 10mm. You can use a socket or T drill, either one, depending on how tight your bolts are. Probably should have used a ratchet. Now I gotta get the wheel speed sensor out here. To get that out, I'm using a 5mm hex head. Now to get this nut off, I'm going to be using a 36mm socket. A little bit there, so you probably use the standard size equivalent to a 36mm, and if you're tired or whatever, but 36 works. Now, check it out. There's a few different ways, because you see that moves, that's going to be a problem. So there's a few different ways you can get this nut off and not have that move, but I'm going to show you one way that you can use and make it a little bit easier for you. Now that I got that off, which that's just one way you can get it off. There are other ways, but that's just one way you can get it off. It was quick, easy. Move it on. On the back of this unit bearing, there are 3 bolts that you're gonna have to take off. And you have to use a 13mm 12-point socket. 12 point. It's the only way you're gonna get it off. Now before you take this thing off, keep a mental note of where everything is located. Like the ABS sensor is located up top in the, I guess it would be the northwest or whatever you want to call it. Well, the 10 o'clock position, because it has to go back exactly the same, everything in the same location. Now there's a couple ways you can get this off too, and once again I'm gonna give you a little trick. You can use a puller. That'll work too. And depending on how tight it is on there, you just might have to use a puller. I'm just hoping I don't have to. That's it, boys and girls. Here's your unit bearing. Axle. Everything. Your nut goes on, and the spline goes into there where you see the notches. And once you put it on, the beveled edge fits right in there. Spline goes in there, and as you can see, and once again, it's for the people that don't know. This part moves, and that's where the spline, where the axle comes in right there, hits that. It turns this, while this, which is bolted to the Jeep, stationary. Bearings inside there, keep you rolling. And you can see, mine probably needed to be changed anyway, or maybe it didn't. Don't really matter, I'm changing it. Rusted all back there, who knows? I could probably roll maybe another 50,000 miles with it, but we changing it. Now here's the new unit bearing. Look, clean. No rust, spline, bevel, everything. And here's where your speed sensor will go, right there on top. You put it back in, same way you took it out. Now, once again, this is a factory match part. There's the Mopar symbol right there. Everything's the same, just like the original. I know you can't see it, but I promise you, it's there. I'm just gonna go with the stock stuff, you know what I mean? Now, I think the service manual actually says don't reuse the nut. So I just went and got another nut, got 2 of them from the dealership. As you can see down on the inside there, it's got red Loctite on the inside, so it's gonna be on. And what I do is when I put all these components back together, I'll let you know what the torque specs are, because I am gonna torque everything to spec. So let's get it back in. Real simple, y'all. And get this clean, because I see a lot of buildup in there from years of off-roading and wheeling, and I kind of want to get it off. Go over it lightly, and I'm not sanding it down. I'm just knocking off the buildup. Sorry for the noise, guys back there weed eating, so can't do nothing about that. Guys got to get his yard taken care of, right? Ain't mad at him. So now that I've gotten 5 years of wheeling off-road and rock crawling up out of there, we're gonna go ahead and get this unit bearing back on. There we go. Didn't even have to fight it. That was almost too easy. Now, putting these 3 bolts in the back behind the hub unit bearing, this is what they look like. This is why you have to have a 13mm 12-point socket. And the torque specs say put them to 75 foot-pounds. You can see where that top bolt is located right there with the ball joint. So the head of the torque wrench is right there. So an extension, if I had one to bring it out right there, it'd be good. But the one I got is too long. So once I get it on there, just gonna use this. So got those 3 bolts back on, tighten it down to 75 foot-pounds. I'm gonna put the wheel speed sensor back in there. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put that nut back on. I'm gonna do the opposite of what I did to take it off. I'm gonna put the tire back on, tighten it down with the impact wrench, and then I'm gonna take the torque wrench and get it to 100 foot-pounds, 100 foot-pounds. There it is. Double check. All right. Next thing is to put the brake shield back on. Now we're gonna get this rotor back on. Now I'm gonna get the brake stuff back on. These are the 2 bolts in the back. Hold this on. Now I got everything back on. I got the caliper adapter sitting back here, so I'm gonna go ahead and torque them down. We'll put the caliper back on, torque it down and everything. Now, before I go back there and show y'all the torque specs for all that and everything, I do want you to keep in mind that, you know, even though I tighten them down, the torque specification for the brake shield back there is, I think, 7 foot-pounds, and for that rotor screw right there, it's 15 foot-pounds. Yeah, so 7 and 15, just in case y'all want to know. So we're putting everything to specs. So here are your 3 bolts where they go. There's one here, one there, and you can't see it, but there's one on the other side over here that looks exactly like these 2 right here with the 13mm 12-point socket. There's 3 of them that go to the back of the unit bearing. So these 2 right here are the caliper adapter bolts, and they have to be at 144 foot-pounds. So I already got my, make sure my torque wrench set. So 144 foot-pounds. Now take my caliper that I had zip tied up. $13mm caliper bolts, 2 of them, 27 foot-pounds. All right. Everything's torqued down to where it needs to be. All I got to do is put the tire back on, and that's it. Now, I'm not going to show y'all the other side because it's the same thing. Really don't need to. So I just want y'all to see what it takes. I literally said, "What that rooster over there wants to get in on the video, I guess." So, you know, I just wanted to show y'all. I said this wasn't gonna turn into a install video, but I guess it turned into an install video. So there you go. But for the ones of y'all that ain't never done it before, you can see how easy it was. Doesn't take a lot. See all the parts you're gonna need, all the tools you're gonna need. Like I said, I'll put them down in the description so you'll know what everything is. I'll put the part number to the unit bearing, that in case you want to get well, hub bearing, whatever you want to call it. In case you want to get the stock ones, I'll put that part number down in there too. And you just get it from where you get it from. Hopefully you can get a good price on them. So keep in mind there are other brands out there too. So that's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this other side done. If y'all got any questions, hit me up. I'll try my best to answer it, or maybe somebody else is watching the video can answer it for you. And by all means, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you're an expert out there, you want them ASC master mechanics, because I'm not. If you got a suggestion or a tip that might help anybody that's watching the video, please put it in the comment so that we all learn together. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Don't forget to smile. Go out and change your life. Change somebody else's life. Peace out, y'all. Now I want to show y'all something that happened to me on the passenger side. So while I was pulling the unit bearing off this passenger side, I pulled the half shaft out of the collar. Now I'm going to tell you what that means. And this is for the ones that don't know. I'm going to tell you what that means. So this is a half shaft. On these JLs and JTs, you know, I ain't talking about the JKs, no, I'm just talking about these specific applications. Every one of them different, so don't want to get y'all mixed up. So on the passenger side has a 2-piece shaft. Some people get aftermarket chromalies and RCVs and they go to a 1-piece shaft. But the stock stuff is a 2-piece shaft, and this is a half shaft. The other half goes from the carrier. In other words, it goes from the diff to the FAD, and then this is the other part of the shaft, drive shaft, the axle. Keep getting these words, but the axle that goes from the FAD to the wheel. Now, if you don't know what FAD means, it's the front axle disconnect. Now, what happens is when you put this thing in 4-wheel drive, the front axle disconnect, hold on. This front axle disconnect has this collar in it, and it goes, I'm dripping fluid, it goes back and forth. So when you put it in 4-wheel drive, the collar is sitting all the way on one side of the shaft, but when you put it in 4-wheel drive, the collar moves over, and this is just wide enough to where one shaft sits here, one shaft sits there, and it sits in the middle, and it connects both of the shafts, and this is what gets your other wheel to spinning. When it's not spinning, it moves back. Obviously 2-wheel drive, it moves back, and the one wheel moves freely. So that's how it works. So what happened was, when I pulled the shaft out, the collar was sitting on the shaft, and the collar fell down in there. And when the collar fell down, ouch, I'm getting bit, y'all. These mosquitoes, I'm telling you, it's broad daylight. And the collar fell down when I went to try to put the drive shaft, well, the half shaft back in. The collar was sitting down, and it wouldn't fit back in there. So I decided, all right, y'all, this is out of control. And then there's somebody going by on a dirt bike. Country living, y'all. We live out in the country. This is what you get. Anyway, so I decided to take the FAD off. Anyway, you know, I look in there and see if anything's wrong, anything's broken. And I'm going to end up taking the front cover off the diff anyway, because I want to look at the gears. I got some more fluid. So it's no big deal. Look, y'all. So I'm going to get it all cleaned back up and put it back on, put the half shaft back in, and get this thing all mounted back up. Look at my front diff and everything, check out my gears and all of that. Now, if you have to take your FAD off, 3 things. The shield to the FAD takes 4 10mm bolts. Take those out. And then the 4 bolts that actually hold the FAD in to the axle are 13 millimeter, just so you know. I'm gonna get this stuff cleaned up and get it put back together. So just wanted to show y'all that while I had it all out. Y'all can see what it is. Now, on the newer JTs and JLs, you gotta take the whole cover off and let it drain. But since this is a 2019, my axle has a drain plug on both axles. And luckily for me, I do have that. So I'll show you where it is on mine. So here it is right there. Takes a 3/8 ratchet. I already had it loose. Get it loose, and I'm gonna move the camera so I can put my drain bucket, pan, whatever you're using up under there, and get it in there. Now, as far as what your stock bolt sizes are, I have no idea. I got this aftermarket Yukon cover on here, so I just know what mine is. And I think I'm using the, 6 millimeter, so you got to figure it out. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just checking inside the bottom of the pan and everything, looking at the teeth. I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover back on, get the fluid back in there, get the half shaft back in there, or get it cleaned up, get that back in there, get all this cleaned off and get it back together. Now I got the collar back on the end of the half shaft, back on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the other half through the other side from the outside and slide it right in there. Now you can't see it, but on the inside of that half shaft, it's a hole that's recessed about maybe a half of an inch, and I'm going to show you what that's for. So here's the other half of the half shaft. See that right there? About a half an inch. That slides right into the other half shaft. All right, now here's the collar, here's the half shaft, the outside. Once I find the notches right, come on now, work with me. Oh, come on now, here we go. Good grief. So it moves back and forth just like this. And so the FAD has that fork on it like I showed you. And depending on whether you put it in forward drive or whatever you're doing, it moves it back and forth. Then when it moves it there, it connects those splines from that and the splines from the other half of the shaft connect together and they spin together. It's simple. It ain't that complicated. Left, right, left, right, left, right, FAD, left, right, FAD, left, right. So if you got a problem, maybe your FAD ain't working, who knows. That's why a lot of folks go to a one-piece drive shaft and they get a cover plate and close off the FAD so it can't be used anymore. I mean, everything of mine seems to be okay right now, so we're going back with it. So I'm gonna get this back in. Sits one way, moves over there, connector. Collar moves over here. They're both connected, and it spins them together. Go back over there. They spin. They don't spin together. Just don't make it complicated. There you go. Now, when you put the FAD back in here, what you want to do is where that fork is right there. You want to make sure that fork slides over the collar. You gotta kind of come on the outside and look, because you gotta make sure that's how this thing operates. And it's got a guide pin over here on the right hand side, so you can't really put this thing on crooked. Crooked. So let me just double check. I don't want to make no mistakes here. All right, we on. FAD bolts are 13 foot-pounds, crisscross pattern. So now I'm gonna put the FAD shield on, 31 foot-pounds. Oh no, don't do that. Now I'm gonna put the diff cover on. Anytime you're doing this, always refer to some sort of tech manual or just look it up, because there's a certain sequence that you have to tighten these bolts, and there's a certain way you have to torque them. Like for the factory specifications, it is 15 foot-pounds and then 20 degrees. And like I said, there's a certain sequence, like 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So always refer to the manual. Now, most of these companies recommend that you fill these things like 1/8 of an inch below the fill hole here. You know, I just fill it up till it gets right to it. You still don't want to overfill it because that causes other problems, but really, you shouldn't have an issue with overfilling it because you can actually see the hole right there. So just fill it to the hole. So I'm gonna fill this bad boy up, put this fluid back in, and put this cover back on. I just get me a little tube right here, put this bad boy on the end like that. Now if you have the factory drain plug, it is 25 foot-pounds. I have this Yukon, but I'm gonna go to the same 25 foot-pounds with this. Don't need to over torque it. Now that I've gotten the FAD back in, got the half shaft back in, got the diff cover back on, fluid fill back up, I'm gonna go ahead and get this unit bearing back on and wrap this thing up and everything. So catch back with you in a second. Minute. Bunch of minutes. All right, so I got everything put back on. I got everything torqued to spec, axles, tires, the wheels, all of it. Got everything back where it's supposed to be. So all I got to do now is take it on a little ride around the block, see what it feels like, and we'll go from there. Well, so as far as the front end goes, everything seems to be working right, doing what it's supposed to do. Still hear a little noise in the back. I think it's the wheel bearings in the back because, hey, look, they got to be replaced too. But everything that I did to the front, doing what it's supposed to do, sounds good, working good, we good. So it's all good. It took a little longer than normal because when I got in there, I pulled that half shaft out by mistake, but it's a good thing I did because it gave me a chance to clean it up a little bit. So I'm glad I did, got a chance to look in there. I was taking the diff cover off anyway so I could look in there. So I got a chance to look in both, clean them both up, get them back on, and get them buttoned down back. So, hey, when you're doing your maintenance or you're upgrading, whichever one it is, hey, get in there and look at your stuff. Make sure it's all working right, doing what it's supposed to do, there's no issues, and you'll feel a lot better, I promise you, because then you'll know, okay, I put my eyes on it. And like I said in the beginning, I'm no master mechanic. I just been working on various cars and stuff since I was a kid. And you know, the Jeep Gladiator, look at the goat back there in the background. Y'all see that back there? Look at this. Don't make no sense, but anyway, it gave me a chance to get into some other stuff, and I hope y'all out there, this helps you save you some money, so you won't have to run to the shop every time and pay somebody else double the amount to fix it. You could do it yourself. So y'all stay safe. Don't forget to smile. Go out to change your life. Hey, change somebody else's life. Peace out, y'all. Hey, what do y'all need? What do y'all want? Why didn't y'all come help me fix this car or fix the Jeep? All right, so you don't want to be bothered right now. All right, cool. That's how you want to be, whatever.